Hey friends, this is Derek Rose of the Conscious Resistance Network, and today we're going to continue our conversation about Venezuela and the ongoing, currently happening coup that is being staged by the Western media and the Western governments of the world. Before we do that, though, I want to remind you guys to bookmark theconsciousresistance.com. Check us out on Minds.com, on Steemit, on Discord, on Remind, on YouTube, and if you want to support my efforts, follow us and support on Patreon for as little as $1 a month, and you can also subscribe to our email newsletter right there. So let's dive into this. We're going to do another update on Venezuela, and if you have not seen my previous reports on this, check out our website or YouTube channel. You can see what you need to know about the coup in Venezuela right there. That is the first one I did back in February when this was first going on, whenever the, quote, interim president Juan Guaido was put in place by the Western military-industrial complex. We'll talk more about that. And then number two right here, where he was meeting with Mike Pence and talked about how this is being organized by the CIA and the Western oligarchy. And now here we are, April 30th, the day before May 1st, which as many of you know is a quote-unquote workers' holiday. Really, it's a communist left-wing holiday. And he is saying that he is going to overthrow Maduro today and tomorrow, going into the workers' holiday. I'll show you just a brief clip of this from CNN, because it's all over CNN right now, and this is what they want people to be paying attention to. So check this out real quick.
Maduro from power says this is the beginning of the end of Maduro's reign. Juan Guaido says he now has members of the nation's military on his side. His team says there are military uprisings throughout the country, and he's asking the Venezuelan people to stand with him.
Hoy, valientes soldados.
Today, brave soldiers, brave patriots, brave men loyal to the Constitution have heard our call. We have finally met on the streets of Venezuela. Operation Liberty, the Help and Freedom Committees, I invite them to activate immediately. I invite them to immediately cover the streets of Venezuela. The 1st of May has started today. The definitive end to the usurpation has started today.
Well, a spokesman for President Nicolas Maduro says the situation is under control. Let's get the view live from the Venezuelan capital. Journalist Stefano Pozzebon is in Caracas and joins us now. Stefano, describe the scene for us.
Yes, Anna, and I'm talking to you just meters away from the key military base here in central Caracas, where in the early hours...
All right, we'll leave it right there. But basically what's going on, what they're saying, and you can see there's just constant updates coming out of CNN here. Juan Guaido says the majority of Venezuelans support me. That has been contradicted by different reports that I've shown over the last two videos and that other websites have shown. Obviously, you're never going to have a, let's imagine that this was a real sort of uprising and not a Western-controlled uprising. You're never going to have 100% of people. There will always be holdouts who think that the current paradigm is better than change, because some people are just stuck on that. So it's normal, I think, to not have everybody support one individual. However, I do think that the support that this man is claiming is definitely being overblown by the Western media. This is a coup being staged by the Western governments and the Western military-industrial complex, and we'll lay that point out a little bit further in just a moment. But let's show you what they're claiming is taking place. He said, quote, "For many years we have talked to armed forces, and today it's clear to us that armed forces are with the Venezuelan people who are not with the dictator." He said, "We're going to stand here together asking and demanding the military to join in." He called on more people to take the streets, urging all those who are able to communicate with others to send messages, encouraging them to protest. And apparently internet platforms have been made unavailable, blocked today in Venezuela. Now, is that being done by Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro? Because if so, that's obviously something I wouldn't support. But it's also possible that the Western governments have knocked out the internet service as a way to, discredit Maduro. We'll have to wait and see. Venezuelan President Maduro 21 minutes ago tweeted a message saying, "Nerves of steel. I have spoken with the commanders of all the REDIs, the regional defense bodies, and ZODI of the country, who have expressed their total loyalty to the people, the Constitution, to the fatherland." That kind of sounds creepy. "I call for maximum popular mobilization to ensure the victory of peace. We will win." And then, of course, the White House, Kellyanne Conway, Maduro has to go. Of course, the White House stepping in. Mexico claims to be neutral on the situation, VIP Mike Pence, as I've shown you right here. He's already kind of with the team. He's saying, "We are with you," to Juan Guaido, the National Assembly, and all the freedom-loving people of Venezuela who are taking to the streets today in Operation Liberty or Operation Freedom. "We are with you. America, we stand with you until freedom and democracy are restored. Vaya con Dios, free Venezuela." And yeah, so they go through here and they're giving you the mainstream version of events, right? How this came about. Of course, Pompeo is supporting this since 8:06 a.m. So this has been going on for just the last couple hours. And this is just going to increase. And you better believe that they're going to push until they get Maduro out of the way. And eventually we'll probably be in a situation like we saw in Libya, where this man is either sodomized by his own people in some really brutal way, or they're going to hold him accountable. Now, look, I'm not here as a Maduro apologist. I've gotten called an Assad apologist and all kinds of things like that. If you question the narrative, you're supposedly an apologist. How about I support the people of Venezuela figuring out their own shit? And it's clear that this Guaido guy is not just some uprising out of nowhere. And I don't want to rehash what I've already said in these other videos. Again, if you have not watched these two videos, what you need to know about the coup in Venezuela 1 and 2, then please do check them out. They're not very long and they'll keep you informed. But today, the main point that I want to add to my repertoire of evidence of how this guy is controlled opposition and being just funded by the West, and he's a puppet of the West, comes from a report on the Gray Zone, which if you've never checked out the Gray Zone, they do great journalism. You want to check them out. This was just about a month ago, just earlier in the month, April 13th, U.S. military attack on Venezuela mulled by top Trump advisors and Latin American officials at private D.C. meeting. Now, check this out. Away from the public eye, the Center for Strategic and International Studies think tank hosted a top-level, off-the-record meeting to explore U.S. military options against Venezuela. The Washington, D.C.-based Center for Strategic and International Studies hosted a roundtable on April 10th called Assessing the Use of Military Force in Venezuela. A list of attendees was provided to the Gray Zone, and 2 participants confirmed the meeting took place. They refused to offer any further detail. Among the roughly 40 figures invited to the off-the-record event to discuss potential U.S. military action against Caracas were some of the most influential advisors on President Donald Trump's Venezuelan policy. They include current and former State Department, National Intelligence Council, and National Security Council officials, along with Admiral Kurt Tidd, who was until recently the commander of U.S. Southcom. Senior officials from the Colombian and Brazilian embassies like Colombian General Juan Pablo Amaya, as well as top D.C. reps from Venezuela coup leader Juan Guaido's shadow government, also participated in the meeting. So you've got Homeboy's advisors and his supporters that are helping him launch this coup. You've got military officials from the U.S. And Venezuelan officials connected to the U.S., as well as Colombian and Brazilian officials from the embassies. And it says here, on January 23rd, following backroom maneuvers, the United States openly initiated a coup against Venezuela's elected government by recognizing Juan Guaido, who is the National Assembly president. And again, I've already gone through his history. He is basically their version of Obama. They're painting him as this young guy coming from nowhere. He's got the experience. He's been wanting to do this his whole life. And since then, Venezuela has been attacked via sanctions. And if you guys understand how sanctions are an act of war, Ron Paul and others have talked about this. And ultimately, the people suffer. While Maduro may be a criminal in his own ways, and he's going to keep eating and living a lavish life while the people suffer, sanctions are only going to cause the people to suffer further. But the point is to put pressure on them so that he will break. President Nicolas Maduro has accused the U.S. of attacks on the Simon Bolivar hydroelectric plant, which caused blackouts around the country. And so the CIS meeting, though, the one that took place earlier this month, April 10th, called Assessing the Use of Military Force in Venezuela, according to the Gray Zone, suggests that the Trump administration is exploring military options more seriously than before, possibly out of frustration with the fact that every other weapon it has tried has failed. And we talked previously about, the U.S. government claimed that they tried to give aid and that Maduro's people blocked the aid, but that was found to be false. In fact, Russia and China have been giving aid to Venezuela, and they've been receiving it fine. But Venezuela is wary of receiving aid from the U.S. because some of the same people who've been involved with the Bush administration, the neocons, are involved in this supposed aid. So they're afraid that it's just going to be, a trick. On April 10th, Gray Zone obtained the list of the names. It was apparently incorrectly dated as April 20th, but it had taken place earlier that day at 3 p.m. He said he confirmed the meeting had taken place with Sarah Baumnunk, a research associate at CIS's America's program, who was listed as a participant. She said, quote, "We talked about military options in Venezuela." That was earlier this week, though. And then when the Gray Zone asked if the event took place on April 10th, she said, "I'm sorry, why are you asking these questions? Can I help you?" After I asked again about the meeting, she cut off the conversation. "I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable answering these questions," she stated before hanging up. The Gray Zone also received confirmation of the meeting from Santiago Herdoisa, a research associate at Hills & Company, who was listed as an attendee. And he said, "I'm sorry, that was a closed meeting. Good evening." So this goes further into who was at the meeting. You got the commander of U.S. Southcom, which is U.S. Naval Forces Southern Command, who oversee operations in Central and South America. I wonder why he would be there at this meeting. Ambassador William Brownfield. Fernando Cutts and Juan Cruz, former National Security Counsel at the Cohen Group. Pedro Borelli, BV Advisors. You can go further into this list, guys, and see Roger Noriega of American Enterprise Institute. Carlos Vecchio and Francisco Marquez Guiado's Shadow Embassy in Washington. On and on and on. You can see the list and see this is important. Even Jill Stein is calling this out. And it's important because, as we've already shown, this has been going on for a couple of months. Pence and others have already been supporting this. Guaido is being raised as this puppet, and CNN is doing their job to push it and push it and push it and promote it. And this is taking place right now, guys. This is April 30th today. We're going into May 1st tomorrow, the workers' holiday. This must be their final push, what they're calling Operation Freedom, Operation Liberty, which is being funded and supported with the help of Western governments and, of course, the United States, because they want to get in there and get that Venezuelan oil and get another puppet in there so they can take over South America. The U.S. has already got favorable puppets now down in Ecuador and other states. After Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia, and other nations have been resisting U.S. imperialism for years, now they're slowly getting their hands in there, and the Western governments are getting some control, getting some puppets in there. They also want to take over Africa. They've already got control of most of the Middle East, or at least friendly puppets there. And their only pushback are China and Russia. So we'll have to see how this plays out, as China and Russia are surely going to oppose this. But just a little bit of geopolitical news for you guys this morning. Check out the link to the Gray Zones article in the description below to find out more about what's going on. And generally, I'd say check them out because they have a lot of good news, exclusive news, and they need more coverage. So that's it for today, guys. I got another video coming out in a couple hours, but for now, enjoy that. Please share this with your friends and family, because right now, Venezuela is a trending topic. So share this out. Hashtag it Venezuela coup. Hashtag it, see through the lies. Juan Guaido's a puppet. Whatever you do use social media to our advantage. If you sit by silently and just watch this video and do nothing, then our brothers and sisters down in Venezuela are going to suffer. Because at the end of the day, whatever uprising they claim is taking place, it is the people who always suffer. And if we were in the middle of a false coup in the U.S., which you better believe is coming sooner or later, there will be a false revolution taking place. Donald Trump is part of that false revolution. People think that, they fought back against the deep state. But there will be a bigger civil war and a bigger coup coming. And the people will be led to believe that whatever new leader is put in place is a hero. And we would hope that our friends, our brothers and sisters in other countries who see through the lies would spread the information far and wide to try to wake up the people of the world. So that's what we should do. That's what I encourage you to do when it comes to the Venezuelan coup being organized by the Western oligarchy and the people behind them, the secret societies, these individuals who roam in darkness and seek to rule the world. The only thing that can stop them is an empowered, awakened human being that loves themselves and encourages other people to do the same. And as silly as that might sound, that is the answer. Opt out of these systems, love yourself, work through your trauma, and don't feed into their darkness, because that's how they win. All right, guys, till later, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free, my friends. Peace.